great, big, beautiful world out there. And here I sit, sucking on popsicles.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Imbasciani Chronicles. Thank you for joining us on another episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, comment down below what you thought of the episode, and we have a very fun guest today. And just let me know what else you want to see on this podcast, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you never miss all the videos we have, live gig videos, this podcast, the reaction videos I'm doing, the loft sessions, so many fun things that we're doing. And everything on this channel, including this podcast, is sponsored by Rattlesnake Cable Company out of Missoula, Montana, made in the USA, the best guitar cable you will ever find. They make a whole bunch of cables for musicians. So there's an affiliate link down in the description of this video. You can go pick up a Rattlesnake cable today. Have a very fun guest. You've seen him in Las Vegas. You've seen him touring around the country, especially here in Florida a lot lately. We have Mr. Frank Del Pizzo with us, and we're going to start with a little video. Check this out.
Before I could make stairs on an Etch-a-Sketch. You remember that toy? Remember that? That was a toy that proved you were special needs. Am I right, folks? In fact, that was the 8th grade graduation test where I grew up. You can make stairs without drooling. You get a cap and gown and moved on to junior high. Am I right? Because it's the toys they play with, man. They got Wii, Game Boy, Nintendo 3DS, laptops, iPads. What were we playing with? Our parents were trying to kill us in the 60s and 70s, weren't they? Think about that. We played with an Etch-a-Sketch. You know what this toy was? It was a lead-based toy with a mercury ball in it. Did you know that? 2 chemicals they kept far away from each other in the chemistry set. Not Hasbro. One fucking have at it, babies. There you go. Did you ever find yourself drooling at a stoplight? It's not the shit you did in college, sonny. Yeah, it's that lead crystallizing in your brain, yeah. How does it get there? How do you erase an Etch-a-Sketch? You shake it in your face till the picture's gone. A little nuclear fallout happening right there. If that didn't kill us, they gave us a slinky. What was a slinky? Do you remember that? It was a razor wire spring that you played with where? On a couple of flights of stairs. What the fuck could go wrong here? Where's Frankie? He's upstairs playing. Think he might be downstairs now, honey. He says he wants a snack. Give him anything he wants, because that's the way it was, right? Now it's got to be gluten-free, no red 40, no high fructose corn syrup. God forbid it's got a goddamn peanut in it. Are you shitting me? He's swelling up on the couch. We probably shouldn't have gave him Nutter Butters this morning. Not for us. What was an after-school snack for us? Pop Rocks and Coca-Cola. You remember that shit? You were high as hell tweaking on the couch at midnight watching the Tonight Show. Trying to keep the buzz going, you snorted some pixie sticks. You remember that? Little vials of sugar. Oh, that's awesome. Rub that on your gums a little bit. Hey, snap the top off that wax sugar water bottle. I want to wash this shit down. Smoking candy cigarettes behind the couch. I'm up to 2 packs of Luckies a day, Joey. I got to cut this shit out. You guys are awesome for me. Thank you.
There he is, Frank Del Pizzo. Frank, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on. I love it. So I want to start with, first of all, you look a lot different than you did in that video. You've been on quite a journey. Tell me, first of all, how'd you get your start in comedy as well?
Well, I it's funny because people say, who inspired you? What inspired you? I wanted to be a comedian when I was a kid, like a little kid. And I watched, I'm sure you've heard of, and I'm sure you may have seen, actually, the Dick Van Dyke Show. It was 1968, 69, late 60s. I was probably about 4 or 5 years old, and that show would come out, on Saturday nights, and then there was Carol Burnett's show. And I used to love that, and I wanted to be a comedian back then. And then, of course, that, you never know how to do that. You just watch that. And then as I got older, I started watching the Dean Martin show and then the Dean Martin roasts. And I was like, that's where I want to be. That's an entertainer. I want to be an entertainer. So I went completely in a different direction, and then I was a mechanic for 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would basically use my comedic skills to torture the customers, that kind of thing.
Perfect.
So that's how it got started.
Well, it's cool. You do a lot of crowd work, so you kind of I'm right off the bat then. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm a very interactive. I'm an interviewer. I talk to people, and then because that's how my comedy is derived. I'm not really a writer. It's funny because you had this book here with Jerry Seinfeld, and there's all the jokes that he wrote. I didn't really write jokes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In my first month or two of doing comedy, I was writing out, a script, and then I realized that it wasn't me. It wasn't natural.
Yeah. You had to force it too much.
I was delivering it, and then I realized that a lot of people will write for you, okay, to do, like, as I do, different stuff on ESPN, and then they'll have a script and the things they want you to say. And the average person writes to read. They don't write to speak.
Yeah.
It's completely different. So I would get it, and I was like, is this what you want me to say? And they go, yeah. I go, well, can I put it in my own words? And they go, yeah. And that's how I do. I'm more comfortable that way.
That's cool.
But comedy was always me. You know what I'm saying? I say it a dozen times. And I say it a lot in I have no other marketable skills. You know what I'm saying? This is it.
As a musician, I know that feeling.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, what are you going to do if comedy fell off the face of the earth? I don't know.
Right.
Because, I don't know that. So what happened was in 2020 when COVID hit, I was put into the, what they called us was the non-essential workers.
Oh, yeah. I know that field well.
Yeah. We just,
we were in the same club together.
Yeah, we were. And then, and then I'm also, because I'm a, what they call a gig worker, okay, there was no such thing as unemployment for us. They had to open that up, so, I mean, I was reeling.
And you had to prove that you were actually doing something.
Yes.
My IRS agent said it was just a hobby.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I'm sitting in a room that's not a hobby.
Yeah,
you know
right.
What I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's like, people don't understand. It's a business, and it's like, so where do you do your little sketches? That's what I hear.
Yeah.
My little sketches. Yeah. And they go, well, so what else do you do? This. You know.
Exactly.
But the funny part is that people don't understand that the work is not the gig to me.
Yeah.
That's the entertainment to me. I enjoy that.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, it's the getting to the gig, the booking the gig, the making sure that the checks are going to clear, the this, that.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's not a normal type of lifestyle. It really isn't. And then you might get to a gig and there's nothing around you. So now you have to entertain yourself for, 23 hours because you only got to work an hour, like that. So, well, when the world fell apart in 2020 in March, I was that guy that was just in the video. And I had just come from my physical, and they wanted to put me on another pill because my cholesterol was a little high. And at that size right there, you can imagine there's chronic pains that happen. So I was in chronic back pain. I was taking gabapentin. I was taking...
Which, that's no joke.
Oh, yeah, it's no joke at all.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I joke about it in my show about the side effects, and one of them was death.
Yeah, right.
Like,
I know, and you love that, all the commercials. It's like headache, nausea, death.
Death. Death.
Yeah.
That could happen.
Yep.
So, and I was like, I'll never forget, man, I jumped on the scale in the doctor's office, and it was the old slide the weight over, and
just kept going.
Yeah, she put it on the 200, and the bar didn't move. And I was like, you're going to have to go higher. So she goes... And she was like, she was from one of the islands, and she goes, higher. And I go, yeah, I put 250, and then it still didn't move, And then she started sliding the little one across the top, and it went from 10 to 20. And in my head, I heard the old football announcer, he's at the 10, he's at the 20, he's at the 30, he's at the 40. And I was 293 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like a mess, and I just was like, it's time to... you got to pull the ripcord here. Something's got to happen. But
so this was during COVID.
This was during COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I had a friend of mine call me up, and she asked me if I was doing Beachbody, and I was like, I'm not. And she goes, why not? And I go, yeah, it's a good question. So I knew someone that was a coach, so I reached out to them, and I signed up. And he says, if you really want to be accountable, you should sign up as a coach yourself. And I'm like, well, I'm not in the kind of shape where people are going to go, oh yeah,
I want to listen
he's
to
the
him.
one. I want to look like him, like that. So
Right.
He goes, it's not about what you look like, it's about what you do.
Yeah.
And I was like,
well, it's the journey together.
Yeah. So I took the journey, and I brought a lot of people with me doing it, and a lot of those people hit their goals.
Great.
And I still do it, but not as much because the comedy has gone back into normal swing.
Right.
But I still work out every day, and I ended up losing 100 pounds.
Fantastic.
And
very nice.
And changed my body. I have muscles now. Let's get in the camera.
Oh, there are.
Yeah, they're there. And it's not easy. Everyone says it's not easy at this age. Well, I started this at 56, At 57, I had hit the, my a weight that I was like, okay, there's where I'm staying.
Right.
And then my friend, who's my coach, he says to me, you need to enter the Beachbody Challenge. I was like, he goes, yeah. He goes, you got to submit your pictures. This was after my first program. I had lost like 30 pounds. So I'm like, he goes, you sign up. He goes, fill in the paperwork. He goes, and then you're going to get a T-shirt for the program that you just finished. And I was like, wow, I get a T-shirt? So I was like, I'm doing it,
Yeah.
But I was still at a size where I was like, I put it this way. I was a 3X guy living in a 2X world.
Right.
I wouldn't buy anything bigger than 2X.
Yeah.
Like I bought a 2X, I put the shirt on, and then I stretched it out.
Yeah, just
Kinda,
It's like,
because
all right.
I am not committing to 3X.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm not shopping at that
I'm not going
individual
there.
store.
I'm not going there.
Yeah.
You go to Walmart, there's only about 10 things that are over 2X, So I was like, nah, I'm not doing it. So I ended up ordering the shirt in an extra large, and I don't even think it fit me at that point. You know what I'm saying? But
Another goal.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I got in that shirt after the next program. Then you had to submit pictures then, okay, and resubmit. And then eventually I got in it, and then I won the $100,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really awesome.
It was I was one of 44,000 entries.
Wow.
So it was kind of interesting to watch that happen, but there's a change, and then I
So with the Beachbody, what made you pick that organization or that method to lose the weight as opposed to others?
Because originally I had gotten P90X, which was one of the old programs from them, and I loved that program. I love Tony Horton. And again, weight loss to me is just like, yeah, okay, I have to do that again. That's the way it was for me, because I was always a fat kid. You know what I'm saying? I was always and again, you say fat kid, and people go, oh, he's saying fat. Yeah, I was a fat kid. And, if you want to make it feel any better, I was calorically enhanced. Okay, there you go. I was a fat kid growing up, and there was no getting around it. And I had to lose weight then as a kid. You know what I mean? You're picked on. You're called fat boy and blah, 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 and chubs and, all these different names. And you get picked on constantly. And then I would lose the weight, and then eventually you gain the weight back because you're not changing anything. You
go through this extreme to lose the weight, but then you go back to your lifestyle the way it was.
Right. You don't make a change. Instead of putting myself, I tell people when I try and get them to jump in with me so I can show them what I'm doing, is stop using the word diet. Okay, because diet means in your mind restriction and things you can't have.
Yeah.
Okay. I call it a nutrition plan. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you get on a nutrition plan and you realize, oh, I can have a piece of apple pie after a big dinner or after a dinner,
Right.
But everything has a balance.
It's moderation. It's
moderation.
Understanding it and being aware of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, and I still will whip out them old, habits that I do. I'm an ice cream guy. Would I have ice cream every night? No. But can I? Yeah, I could.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But no.
That reminds me, do you ever see the old, and it's Christmas, so it's perfect time to see it, the old movie Shop Around the Corner with Jimmy Stewart? It was old black and white, kind of a Christmas movie, romance movie.
Right.
It's very funny. The guy who played the wizard in The Wizard of Oz is in it as well.
Yes.
And in the movie, there's the scene where there's the box that opens up and it sings "O Chichonia" because they're in Budapest, like you are right now in your background.
Budapest, yes.
Yeah.
Like
And so they're trying to say, who wants to buy this cigarette box that every time it opens, it sings, "O Chichonia." It'll drive you nuts. So this bigger lady walks in and says, "Oh, how much for the candy box?"
Yeah.
Oh, such and such. But every time you open it, it plays this song. And the female lead, I forget her name, she goes, "Oh, yes, but every time you open it to take another piece of candy, you're reminded. One more piece? Oh, Chichonia." So it gets you to cut down.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. I just changing that, and then the working out and changing, putting muscle.
Yeah.
You actually will burn what you eat, and stuff like that. But that's what I did, and that's where I am now. And I'm still, like this shirt is a bigger shirt, and I still wear it. I just like it. But it's too big for me, but I still wear it. But
It's a nice shirt.
Thank you, man. I gave up every other clothes. I took all the clothes that were big, and I brought them to Goodwill, and they're gone.
Nice.
So some.
Well, and that has to be part of it too. It's like that getting rid of it and saying that part of my life is over.
It's not hanging in my closet again.
Right.
And I have some shirts that I bought when, being on vacation, you buy a shirt here, you buy a shirt there, and you go, okay, well, I can't wear it again, but I do wear it once in a while. I just wear it. It's just the shirt that you're not wearing, all the time because it's just they hang on you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But people go, he doesn't know how to dress. Well, they don't realize that I used to wear that shirt, and that shirt didn't have room when I was wearing it.
Yeah.
But
Well, and you talk about they wanted you to be a coach too.
Yeah.
And I think that plays a very big part, and especially right now, whether you could talk about the COVID times or people dealing with anything in their life, motivation's important. They want to see people going through it the same time they are. They don't want to just see, the chiseled guy saying, come on, fat, let's do this. They want to be on the journey together with somebody.
Yeah.
You're continuing doing the coaching now. Do you still see it in the same light of that motivation to help others also helps you, and why do you continue to do the coaching?
I think what happens is it's kind of like the tide. You know what I'm saying? Where sometimes I kind of drift away from it. Okay, even though I do stay with the workouts.
Yeah.
Because the workouts make me feel better.
Right.
But I forget that there's people that need me to continue to tell them that I'm doing this.
Right.
Because and so it actually, like I had the bell goes off, and then I go back to reaching out and letting people know, hey, I'm still here if you need help.
Yeah.
And around this time of the year, people go through a lot of, well, I'll do it on New Year's.
Yeah.
Well, I don't call it a New Year's resolution. I call it a New Year's solution.
Yeah.
Okay, because a resolution means you're resolving to not do something ever again.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to eat.
Right.
So if you're resolving to never eat, you're going to eat. But why don't you just say, I have a solution so I never have to be on a diet again. And that's what I try to explain to people. It's like, I'm never going to be on a diet again because I know adjusting all of the foods in the right way, okay, it's fuel.
Yeah.
It's not feeding. A lot of people say, oh, I got to eat. Well, you got to fuel yourself. So if you fuel yourself, you properly eat, your body runs. And people go, oh, I'm not eating carbs. Well, that's great. And that means your brain is going to shut down.
Yeah.
And the protein that you're putting into your body is never going to get to the muscles. Okay.
Because it has to do so many other jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to carry it there. It's like, I drink post-workout a recovery drink that I drink.
Yeah.
And I will put fruit in it and blend it because the fruit actually carries it to the muscles faster.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, carbs are not bad for you. There's good carbs, there's bad carbs.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I'm Italian like you're Italian.
Yeah, I know.
We can't. We need the pasta.
We got to have pasta.
Pasta, bread. Come on.
Yeah. And
It's a way of life.
It's like we were at Bassani's this week, and
exactly.
there's just two things over there I want to eat every time I go there. You know what I'm saying? It's the eggplant parm, and I love their bread. You know what I'm saying?
With their garlic butter.
Yes. Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
It really is.
And the thing is that I planned for this week, for 3 weeks, going, okay,
Right.
I'm eating that.
You're going to eat that, so you
gonna eat
prepare
that.
yourself.
Now I got 2 weeks
Yeah.
before Christmas. Okay, so I'm back in, hitting it hard, bringing my food consumption.
Eating your carrot stick.
No, see, there's the thing is
Yeah.
I still eat, but I don't add any of the, I don't add like, okay, well, I want a piece of candy or I want this, I want that. I try and take all that out.
Right.
And
Because you're going to have that.
I'm going to have that
later.
Right, because my sister's a cookie person. She makes all
Nice.
these cookies. My other sister makes pies. My one sister makes pastas, and so I want to have all those things for Christmas. So
Right.
I'm going up there for 2 weeks, and I know that those 2 weeks are going to be not a slippery slope, just a slope that you can slip on. You know
Right.
what I'm saying, like that.
And so that's the perfect way to think about it. Is it's all in the mentality too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing when you're just talking about motivation in general. I think people need to understand it's like you're your own worst enemy. You can do it if you want to do it.
Personal development.
Yeah.
Like people, it's funny that, as I got older, I started to understand that, the concept of words hurt. Okay. People used to say, oh, it's sticks and stones and break my bones.
Yeah, right.
Words will never hurt me. Yeah, they do. Because they kind of set a thing for you. Well, the words that hurt you the most are the ones that you tell yourself.
Yes.
Okay. So
Definitely.
personal development is really big in this program. Like they actually tell you should continue personal development. And then I started to listen to different audiobooks because I drive. That's my business, is in the car.
Right.
So
So you're listening to podcasts like this.
Yes, and that's what I do. I listen to personal development podcasts. And I got through the You know, I had one person that was telling me, I was like, I'm not a bad guy. And she goes, then why are you defending yourself? And I go, what do you mean? She goes, well, you continue to tell yourself you're not a bad guy, which means that you
inherently think you are.
You inherently think you are because people tell you, okay, relationships, all this other stuff. Oh, you're a bad guy. You're evil, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually what happens is you tend to believe it.
Right.
She goes, instead of saying you're not a bad guy, say you're a good guy.
Yeah.
And it took me a while, you know what I'm
it's
saying?
That positive flip of
Right.
I'm not a bad guy. I'm a good guy.
I'm a good guy.
Right.
I'm a good guy. You know, you're a good guy. I mean, you know, everybody that we know, we're good people.
Yeah.
You know, and then people that'll tell you that, oh, no one really knows you. Only I know you. Well, that's a heavy juggling event right there to keep that up. I mean, I'm 59 years old, so everybody that knows me, the only person who really knows me is one, but the rest of the world knows me as somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, come on, really?
Right.
You know, and then you start to realize that the person that you're talking to is the one that no one really knows. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I got, you know, through that being beat up by myself, and then eventually I went through a couple different audiobooks, and then I listened to Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights. Have you heard
Really?
that one?
Yes, I remember when he came out with that.
Great book.
Cool.
Great book. And it's something that I would recommend. Matthew McConaughey is like, I love the way he acts. I think he's awesome.
Very big method guy, too.
Method guy, right? And also he's, you know, I think he's from Uvalde, Texas, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of his, you know, thought process is that old school Texas, you know, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But he talks about his career, how it started, and you know, as a kid growing up, his mom and dad in the book and everything, and then I was looking for a motorhome that I was going to buy because I was going to go on the road doing stand up with the, you know, camper, that kind of thing. So my brother-in-law, who he was like, you need to get an Airstream. They're the best. He goes, they're the best to get.
Iconic.
So, yeah, he goes, and it's quality that's going to last you. He goes, and we were looking at all these different motorhomes, and a motorhome that's like, you know, they call them C class and A class and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't want one of them big pushers, even though it's like a house.
Yeah.
He goes, and I was a mechanic. He goes, let me explain something to you. He goes, if brakes go out on a pusher, he goes, it's $5,000. And he goes, and you can't fix that.
Right.
He goes, but if you're towing an Airstream and brakes go out on a Dodge pickup truck, he goes, you can replace those.
Yeah.
And I go, that's a really good point.
Yeah, and with the other thing I've heard, unless you're going to tow a car behind your gigantic Class A or even a Class C, wherever you go, you have to make sure there's parking for that gigantic thing. And then how are you going to get around town? Right.
If you set it up and drop the jacks and level it off, and people don't realize, they think you just pull in and, oh, yeah, we're living.
Yeah.
No, you got to level it. You got to connect it to the water.
And good luck putting that push out when you're not level.
Yeah, I know.
And then putting it back in.
Yeah, I know. They get stuck.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I was like, and I didn't want any push outs because I didn't want them to leak, you know, like that. So, but it was kind of funny because we were going around looking at all these motorhomes, and the one that I wanted was a 27-foot Class C. It looks like the Ford Econoline van in the front.
Yeah.
Nice. 27-foot, had two pop-outs, one on one side, one on the other, and the price was $68,000. Wow. And I'm like, that's a lot of money for that. And he goes, well, let's try and find you a used one. You go and you look at the used ones. I'm like,
used and abused.
Used and abused. This looks like a murder scene.
Used to be used as the meth lab.
Yes,
by Walter White.
Exactly what it looked like. Yeah. And I was like, no, I can't be doing this. So then I found this Airstream dealer, and we were looking at him, and I'm like, yeah, I could live in this, you know, because I'm going all over. But so I did. I got an Airstream and I got a truck, and I didn't buy new. I bought used. Yeah. Because Airstreams are bought by people that, you know, appreciate
what
that,
they have.
And they also, when they spend the money on it, they take care of it.
Right.
You know, like that. So when you buy a used Econoline and you run it out for 2 years, oh, well, next guy can worry about it.
Right.
You know, so I really look after mine. I take care of it. You know, I get maintained properly, and and being a mechanic, I'm always looking at tires and checking it out.
Yeah.
And then the truck that I bought is just an old Dodge truck, and
Yeah, it's a nice truck.
and it hauls it good. So
Good.
can't pass a gas station.
No.
But that's what it is.
10
what it
gallons
is.
to the mile, right?
It does. You hear it's like boom, 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 boom. It sounds like a 5-gallon jug sucking water down. It's really bad.
Yeah.
But it runs solid. It's a good truck. It was low mileage when I bought it. So
Great.
But it's been an interesting year because I've been living in that.
Yeah.
And going from point A to point B in Florida and go to the state, do a gig, come back, and it's kind of cool.
Go to New Jersey.
New Jersey. And
you drive it out to Las Vegas too?
not yet, but it will
Okay.
be going out there. Yeah,
Nice.
It's going to be going out there probably April. I'll spend probably a month or so out there, bouncing
cool.
back and forth from Florida.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it there.
And then just drive the truck or fly.
I'll fly at that point, but I have Gunner now, so
Right.
Gunner is. I'll tell your fans here.
Yeah.
Crazy story. I'm a beagle guy. I love beagles, and going through a divorce, the beagles didn't get to come with me.
Right.
So I haven't seen them. And back in October, I'm driving this thing up 17 North, going to a gig, and this little male beagle just darted across 4 lanes of traffic.
Wow.
And he made it, and I was pretty impressed.
That's insane.
Yeah, and I was like, wow. I mean, like, he got through. But if you looked at him, you could tell he wasn't a stray.
Right.
He was fit, and he was clean, and he is like, you had muscle, and I'm like, that's somebody's dog that got out. So being a beagle guy, I'm like, I'm getting this dog off the road. I don't want nothing to happen to him. So I pull over, park the
If
trailer.
it was a Chihuahua, you would have said, keep driving.
Yeah, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. So, and I pull over, and I'm running down the street to make sure he gets off the road. And this little bugger's coming back across the highway the same way again, which means he went back
Right.
and then went back again.
Wow.
So as I get there, he's getting in this guy's car, and I'm like, is he yours? It don't matter. I go, is he yours? He goes, he is. He's a family dog. He goes, I just saw him, and I'm like, that's Gunner. And his girlfriend pulled over, and they got the dog in the car.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, he's a great dog. And he goes, yeah. He goes, my sister can't keep him anymore. And I said, well, tell her I'll take him.
Yeah.
So she called me within 10 minutes, and I got him the next day.
Nice.
And he's been traveling all over with me. And
That's great.
And it's funny because, I'm like, he's a highway dog. I put him on the seat next to me, and he just sits there. He's a nervous wreck driving.
Oh, yeah.
So I flip the seats up. I let him lay down. Eventually, he'll fall asleep. But his most comfortable place is in his kennel in the back seat.
Oh, yeah.
So he likes to lay in the
Right.
kennel, but he still has an episode of panting there, But he would not lay down. Like if I had the armrest down and he's sitting on the armrest.
Yeah.
So he literally was sitting there in a sit position, asleep.
What? Really? Just
Asleep.
Not
His
at all.
head was down, and he
Wow.
was weaving all over the place. It was really funny, man.
That is funny.
Yeah, but he was
Well, it's nice that, talk about God luck right there,
Yeah, yeah.
and being able to do that and
Yeah.
save the little guy. Gunner, the
Gunner.
official mascot.
Yes.
Frank Del Pizzo.
Gunner the Wonder Dog is out cruising with me in the Airstream.
I love it. I love it. Well, and so let's go back and talk about Vegas. When and more of your career here, because you've done a lot, and just your personal story right there is a lot. And congratulations on everything
Thank you.
you've accomplished with that. How much weight did you lose all in all?
I lost 100 pounds.
That's great.
And then through working out, you put muscle back on.
Right. So
your
you're
numbers
gaining
go
weight,
up.
but it's muscle.
But my size is, in certain areas of your body get a little bigger. Like my chest is getting bigger and my shoulders and stuff because I'm lifting heavier weights.
Right.
So I have to readjust those clothes.
Right.
But that's not like you're going out and buying a bigger suit because you gained 25 or 30 pounds.
Exactly.
Like that. It's
Yeah.
a change in your body shape. But mainly I've put back on pound-wise about 15 pounds.
Okay, but it's the muscle. Right.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
And I'm sure there's 5 hanging around the stomach from Imbasciani this past week.
Right,
Because
that's
I was
okay.
not passing up on really
It
good eggplant.
fluctuates.
Yeah. That's a level. It goes up and down there. But
Yes. So with your performing, you said you were the mechanic first for 10 years, and you kind of knew you wanted to get into comedy. How long have you been doing comedy?
33 years.
33 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And I like your entertainment because you you like you said, you grew up watching like the Dean Martin show and seeing
Yeah.
those type of, and we've talked about this, entertainment shows like the Tonight Show, like the Dean
Right.
Martin show, where you're coming out, you're singing songs, and plus you're making jokes, you're working with the audience, and you've already talked about on here that you don't really write your material, you do so much crowd work. I was at your show on Friday night, practically all crowd work. It's great. I love it, and that means every show is going to be different because you're dealing with the people in front of you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the moment.
Right.
And I mean, I think that probably comes from undiagnosed ADHD because I cannot.
And you're a people person. You
I
can
am.
talk
I
to
love-
people. And you
yeah.
can pull stuff out of people that they might not want to give up, except for that guy was the boss of the Christmas
Yes,
party.
he didn't want to talk to me.
No.
That was very funny. He comes up to me after the show and he goes, "Hi, I'm Dick."
Yes.
Like this, and I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, I really didn't want to be part of the show." I go, your whole team would have loved it if you joined in.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yes."
And by saying we're not going to be part of the show, that makes you more a part of the show.
More a part of the show. You're
Yeah.
going to get my undivided attention a lot more, So it was funny because he came up. He was a great guy. Him and his wife, they enjoyed the show. And he goes, "Oh, my team had a great time." And I'm like, "That's great." I said, I go, "Next time you're at a show and people want to play with you, just play. Just let it happen."
Yeah.
Because it doesn't mean anything.
And his name is not Dick, by the way.
It's not Dick.
It became
Dick because he wouldn't tell me his name.
Right. And what did I say after you? I said, now the whole company's going to get him a Christmas card, and it's going to say, "To Dick."
To Dick, yes. What was funny is, it's like they're waiting for their Christmas bonuses. As soon as they get their Christmas bonus, but he is a dick. Like this. It's like the Jelly of the Month Club.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Or that reminded me of the Seinfeld episode. George gets the cards. A donation has been made in your name to the Human Fund.
The Human Fund.
Money for people.
Yes. Human Fund.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And it was like, I got these cufflinks.
Yeah.
But how'd you put them in? He goes, "I put them in a regular shirt. I just poked a hole in it with a
Yes,
letter over it."
Yes, I love that.
Well, aren't you the ingenuitive type?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you started your comedy, did you start by just doing the crowd work and your bits, or did you also do the singing as well?
No,
the
that's very
entertainment?
funny that you actually say that because I was that ad-lib guy in the garage, so I just thought that that's what comedy was.
Right.
And I went on stage the first time at an open mic, and it wasn't a big crowd, probably about 35, 40 people.
Yeah.
And it was the very first open mic that the club down the street, they had just opened a club.
Oh, wow.
And I got dared from the garage,
Go do it.
"You should do this." And I'm like, "Well, it's different." They go, No, go do it. Just be you, go do it. I'm like, "Okay." So I went there, and I had some of my family members were there. My brother-in-law, who was a mechanic with me, we used to be in the garage together in one garage.
Nice.
And he was laughing because I was doing mechanic stuff.
Right.
He was laughing, but nobody else. So then
Falling flat.
it was sheer panic. And the panic, my ad lib took over. And I riffed for about 3 minutes of just how nervous I was.
Yeah.
And I got really good laughs. And do I recall what I even said? Not a bit. That's part of my problem is I don't have recall
Yeah.
on 90% of what I say during the show when I do crowd work.
Yeah.
So my friend goes, "You need to record those." I go, "No, because if by chance that situation happens again, I want it to be live like
Right.
that." So that's what happened. I ad-libbed, and the club owner came over to me and he goes, You can really do this." He goes, "Don't quit your job tomorrow."
Yeah.
He goes, "Because it's not easy. You're not going to walk in and just get paid." He goes, "You have to prepare some material for the next week, and each week prepare material and this and that." So I went every week and I wrote for about 3 months. But I did realize that my natural was to talk to people.
Yeah.
So what I started doing was talking to people about what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And that kind of
And it put it together.
put it together.
Yeah. So that you not only laugh at the joke, but then can laugh at the people involved.
Right. And
Yeah.
then I ended up hosting an amateur night, an open mic night for 3 years. And then from the 3 years there, for 7 years, they gave me a show in the big room
Cool.
for the same Tuesday night for 7 years. I was in that club for 10 years every
Wow.
Tuesday. So
That's great.
you couldn't do material because if you did the same repeat piece,
People will
it
get
just
tired
loses
of it.
its
Yeah.
steam.
Right. Exactly.
So, and as a comic, and you work the same room a lot, if there's people that want to see you do that bit,
Yeah.
And you almost don't want to do the bit because you've done it so much in this location.
Yeah.
But you'll do it for them, and you can feel the difference in the tilt, and the amount of laugh. But it got a laugh, and you just move forward from it. But you did it for that person, that
That's
kind of
cool.
thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm 33 years in, and
That's awesome. So that was in New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
What was the scene like in New Jersey, in the cities? Were you going to New York to do comedy?
Yeah, I used
what
to
was
work
that like?
Dangerfields.
Oh, wow.
I mainly worked Dangerfields. I would host there. And the hosting, a lot of people don't understand. Comedy now, and it's funny because I love comedy clubs, don't get me wrong, but comedy clubs are almost detrimental to the comedy world because they look at a budget and they have structured the shows where it's the weakest guy first, the not so weak guy middle, and then the strongest guy at the end.
Right.
Well, when I started, it was the strongest guy was the host. Then it was 2 or 3 other acts, and then that strong guy that was the host, he was the headliner.
Wrapped up.
He wrapped up the show. And when I started, that's the way it was. And
that's interesting.
It was sink or swim.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you say that. As a side note, I've seen in festivals in the music world, it's the same thing. You have your opening act, and then if it's like a 3-band or 4-band bill, the headliner's always last.
Right.
Well, for an all-day festival where there's 3 or 4 or 5 bands, first of all, nobody's there for the opener.
Right.
Or they're trickling in right as the opener finishes.
Right.
And honestly, nobody's there for the headliner at the end or they'll stay for half of their set and then leave.
Right.
Because it's late, or we saw all these bands, or you gotta beat traffic, right? Nobody stays to the end of a ball game. So some festivals now are putting the headliner in the middle.
Yeah.
If it's like a 3-band bill, put the headliner in the middle. Right. You have your opener, people are arriving, they get half the set, and the headliner that the people paid all the money for anyway gets the best time with the best audience.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. You say the headliner for the comedy clubs would start and finish. It's like you warm them up. You say, check these guys out, and then I'm going to wrap it up.
It's like in Vegas. I actually host in Vegas because he likes the way I host.
Yeah.
And can I headline it? Yeah, I could headline it tomorrow. It's not a problem. But they bring in, like you said, these TV guys that, they bring them in, and some of them are strong, some of them are not as strong, and sometimes I'm the strongest guy on the show, but it's the way the show is. And as a host, you know how to get the person,
how to pull the people
to
in,
look good.
Yeah.
On that show. And that's what hosting is. Hosting is not about, being funny. Hosting is about forming a union with the audience, getting the audience to give this person their undivided attention and watch the show and this and that. And then if you're funny, it's a bonus.
Right.
Okay. So, but I like that set that was from the Laugh Factory. That was in the opening, 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah. And then you say, I'm your host.
I'm your host. Yeah. I just walk out. So I'm walking out to a cold room.
And you got to warm them up.
And you got to get them in 3 seconds. You have 8 seconds to make that audience happen. And if you look at my laugh timing on that, it's 8-second laughter, 8-second laughter, 8-second laughter. But that's how I was trained.
And that's cool that you have to think about it that way. I mean, I said this last night when I saw you after you said at Imbasciani that as a musician, I never when the set starts, I never say anything like to start. I just hit them with the song because most people are not paying attention. You cannot walk out there and say, "Hey, everybody, how you doing?" Because it's going because people are finishing their conversations. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what time it is that the band starts right now.
Right.
Especially if you're in a club and not a theater. I mean, even at Imbasciani where there's people are still eating food. They're talking to each other. The lights go down. They don't care.
Yeah, I know. They're
so.
Still chowing away, and you're looking at someone eating, mozzarella sticks.
Right. They go, why is there somebody on stage?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Who is this guy?
Yeah. So it is hard. It's very hard to grab an audience, especially when you have to do it so fast. I mean, I'm lucky because we're loud, but for a single person that's talking, I can imagine it's very difficult.
I used to do a lot of those clubs where they would bring, if I had weeks off, I would fill in the weeks that when I was home with hosting in different places.
Yeah.
And I would literally walk out and someone would be eeating and I would just go right to them and I go, dude, come up for air. What'd you see? You're eating like you're on the electric chair here, like this,
Yeah.
And then I would just start with them. And then what happens is it makes them realize that
Show starting.
Something's happening
Yeah.
while you're eating, you know, like this. So now next thing you know, you got everybody who is eating goes, oh, okay, I actually have to look at him and I have to stop talking to you, honey.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. That I heard this story. I played a couple times at the BB King's Blues Club in Orlando. So
Right.
it's not there anymore, unfortunately. But BB King, when he was still alive, would go around and play those clubs about once a year or so.
Right.
And it's a nice restaurant. They had great food. And he said whenever BB King was in town, they required the entire restaurant to pull every single piece, every plate, every piece of silverware, anything that could make any noise on that table a half an hour before BB King started.
See, it's funny because I do that when I do these dinner shows.
Yeah.
They go, hey, we're going to do a dessert while you're on. I go, no, you're not. You're not.
Yeah.
Show starts at 7:30. Everything needs to be done by 7:30. If it's not, it'll start at 7:40.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to.
You're not going to compete with somebody's food.
Food
Yeah.
and this and that, because it's a structured show, and you know the crowd work is very mixed in with my show that I do with the Tux and the singing the Sinatra and Dean Martin and stuff, and I don't ever want to ever make someone think, oh, he's an impersonator. Not at all. I'm a tribute guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
sing with their phrasing, and as a musician, you know what I'm talking
Oh, yeah.
about with phrasing. You
Yes.
know, so.
Which that's hard to do. If you're singing Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, like their timing, and it's already jazz music, but
Yeah.
like their timing of that old school singing, like where you think the line should start,
Right.
it doesn't.
Right.
Part of that, I mean, Frank was probably drunk, but
Yeah.
but
Like if you listen to the song, you know, One for My Baby, you know, that you listen to that song, there's like 5 different versions you'll find.
of course, yeah,
None of them are the same.
yeah,
Okay. The one that I like the most is the one that's live at the Sands.
that's cool.
Okay. That's the one that I like the most. And that's the one that I base how I do it on.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did the same thing. Like I do an Eric Clapton tribute show,
Right.
And folks can check that out at Imbasciani as well.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's like you listen to certain versions, and being live, you don't necessarily want to cover the record version. You want to find a live version that Clapton's done and mimic
Right.
that. I did that with a version he did of I Shot the Sheriff, where there's a little bit more of an intro and more of a guitar solo at the end.
Right.
That is perfect for a live setting.
Yeah. And people
It makes
don't-
a difference.
They don't understand that either. There's studio versions.
Right.
You know, and then there's the live versions,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So, and most of what you're hearing with Frank on those, you know, Rat Pack type
Mm-hmm.
stuff, that was all recorded right live while they were on stage.
Yeah. And
you
that's
know,
cool.
And you know, and then
Because you can't beat that. I mean, I recorded the Clapton show too at Imbasciani, and that's what I sell. I have these little thumb drives that have the music on it, and most of my records that I've come out with are all live recordings,
Right.
because I'm a live band and I feed just like a comedian feeds off of an audience. I feed off the audience.
Right.
So the best show you're gonna get is a live show, not in a sterile environment of a studio saying,
Right.
"All right, cut, do it," you know. These are just scratch vocals. You'll come back and record the vocals later. It's like, no, it's not how I operate.
and sometimes those songs aren't recorded in one fell swoop.
Exactly.
You know, like they might go from the break, they'll come in, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, you know, and that's funny because I'm like, when I work with the live piano guy, they go, oh, I'll follow you. And I go, no, I'll follow you because
Yeah.
if you listen to Sinatra, he followed the music.
That's interesting.
He followed the music.
Yeah.
Have you ever really listened to, like, when you listen to him, the music was playing. If the piano guy was waiting for him to start singing,
You're going to be waiting a while.
he's going to be waiting a
Right.
while.
It's
'cause
like he wants that downbeat first, and then you come in.
and then he comes in, right?
Yeah.
He's like really like that's the way he did.
That's cool.
Yeah, Dean Martin was more upbeat and very
Mm-hmm.
loose. You know, he would change his tempo on stuff or
Yeah.
you know like that. But Dean Martin was pretty more structured than Frank was. But
Yeah.
Dean would change the words to stuff to make it comedic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that.
Right. And more of like, if he had the TV background, it was more of like that TV show
Right.
feel.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny to you know because if you watch the, you know, Dean Martin was very very well. His timing was really really good.
Yeah.
The Dean Martin roast show you that, you know, and Sinatra was very funny too.
That's cool.
You know, Sammy was probably the most talented out of the 3.
One of my favorite songs is Me and My Shadow.
Yeah, I love
Sammy
that.
and Frank.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, there's a show out in Vegas at the Tuscany. If you're going out there and if you like the Rat Pack, I recommend going to see it. The 3 guys that do it are very good.
That's cool.
And they do that song.
Yeah.
Frank and the Sammy impersonator do that song.
Yeah.
and it's really good. And they're at the Tuscany, and it's called The Rat Pack is Back.
Cool.
And it's produced by a guy named Dick Feeney, and it's very well done. It's a small little intimate cabaret room. It's maybe 150 seats.
Yeah.
So it's really intimate. It's like when they first started.
That's nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I mean, when they were at the Sands, those rooms were probably a big showroom in the 50s and 60s was like 800 people.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to realize that. And now they're like
Thousands.
They're thousands.
Yeah. Right.
And it loses
The sound
its
systems can
intimacy.
handle that now too.
Yeah, but it just so loses its intimacy.
It's true.
Which
yeah.
I the show that I do it in country clubs and banquet rooms and stuff.
Where the people are there.
Right, but
Yeah.
and then sometimes they go, we're gonna have 250 people. I'm like, yeah, I can do that. It's no problem. My system will carry that kind of sound.
Right.
But I like, and they put like 20 feet between you and the first few tables, and I go
hate
in there
that.
and I say to the banquet manager, I'm like, you need to put tables in this spot here. And he was like, well, I thought you'd want it. No,
What about the dance floor?
there's no dancing.
Yeah.
If they want to dance, they can get up and they dance.
There's a great video. Somebody did a text to talk thing and made a little animation video. It's like a band at a wedding.
Right.
And so it's dealing with the wedding coordinators. And the answer is always, I'm the wedding coordinator and I'm in charge.
Yeah.
And the lady goes, oh, the band has to set up on the 5-foot by 5-foot stage in front of the 30-foot by 30-foot dance floor. And the band guy goes, well, we have a drum set and 7 members and horns and a PA system. Where are we supposed to set up? And she goes, oh, well, we have to have room for the dance floor. He goes, who's going to dance if there's no band?
Yeah, I know. It's the truth.
Yeah.
But I don't need a lot of space. Like I'm good, and I'm tall, so I don't really look for a stage when I go into these venues.
Right, you're already.
I'm up there.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm doing something on the floor that these people need to see me. I'm
Yeah.
not laying on the floor, but they're gonna see from like my mid thigh up. That's all they need to see.
Well, and then it's easier to meet with the people if you're walking around and doing the comedy show and singing. It's at a more hands reach
And I have
level.
a cordless mic, and people go, they don't ever expect that. People
yeah.
sit in the back, and I literally, in the first 2 minutes, will walk to the back of the room.
That's funny.
And they go, oh,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
I said, you're in the back of the room. It doesn't mean you're not here.
Right.
Like this.
Yeah, I have a wireless, and I walk around and play a couple times with my wireless on my guitar, and
Yeah.
people go, "You're not really playing, are you?" And
Yeah.
I'll just stop. I'll be like,
Yeah. Yeah. Some guy actually emailed me after the show I did at DeRomo's in Bonita Springs. There's a banquet room. It's beautiful, and it's like very intimate. It's probably about 100 people.
Yeah.
And and
That's good, comfy.
It's comfy. It's nice. It's a beautiful Italian buffet, and it's really nice. And I come out to come fly with me, and he commented to me in the email that he goes, I didn't quite understand why you were lip syncing to Sinatra. And
Oh, man.
and then when you spoke to someone halfway through the song, he goes, oh, he's really singing that,
Yeah.
like that. And then he goes, wow. He goes, I my respect level changed for you. He thought it was going to be hokey.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that. And then I talked with him for a while on the phone. Later on when he emailed me, I called him and we were talking.
Nice.
And he goes, yeah. He goes, I didn't know what to expect when you started to sing. He goes, I thought, oh, what did we get? What did we come to? Like
Right.
that,
Yeah.
But it's like, I just believe that form of entertainment is so lost.
Yeah. So how did you develop that show? How long have you been doing that show?
That show developed, well, I was on cruise ships for years.
Okay.
And I would hang in the piano bar because I love that kind of music.
Right.
I love
That environment.
that environment, that
Yeah.
intimacy, the piano,
The people.
the riffing. There's talking. A good piano guy has a personality.
Right. And
Okay.
he's just tooling
Just
away.
tooling away,
and-
playing and talking
yeah.
and singing and making people laugh
That's
and
cool.
having a good time. There's drinks flying and I would go in there, and I was a driver. Everywhere I went to a gig, I drove. So I had a Sinatra CD, and I would play it and I would sing it.
Yeah.
And in the car, acoustically, the driver's window comes right back to you, your sound. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
can hear what you sound like. So I was practicing those songs because I liked the songs, and I was singing those songs. And I got to the piano bar, and he goes, and as I walked in, he goes, hey, it's Frank Del Pizzo, and the place was applauding. And then he goes, hey, you want to sing one? And I was like, yeah, Summer Wind? He goes, yeah. So because I knew that song, so I did the Summer Wind.
That's cool.
And he goes, and of course I'm nervous because I'm not a singer. I mean, I'm literally that's the first
Right,
time I
it's
really
a different
did that
experience.
live.
Yeah, I would be nervous just standing up there talking.
Right.
You know, I hide behind the guitar and
That's
barely
what I
talk.
mean. People do, it's like
Yeah,
the
it's the opposite.
It's the opposite, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I sang the song, and he after we were done, he goes, you can really sing that. I'm like,
cool.
really? He goes, yeah. So I kind of got it in my ear. Okay, so I would go and sing with him, and then I started doing more Billy Joel and Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, New
I
York
love
State
that
of
song.
Mind, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And there's certain songs I can't hit; they're just not in my range.
Right.
And
I have
I'm
the same
not a
thing.
trained singer.
Right.
And I would like to do that only because I'd like to know how to handle my wind more, you know, like that kind
Right.
of thing. But I know
It's breathing.
at
It's all
59 years
breathing.
old, you're not getting much more out of this voice. Yeah. So yeah. So he goes, you should continue to do it. So
That's great.
I would go to these different ships. Well, there's one cruise director. I had a main show I had to do, so I was doing 50 minutes in that show. And I was like, hey, do you mind if I do Come Fly With Me at the end of the show? And he goes, no, not at all. So I had the track, and we did it, and it worked well. And we were goofing with it, okay? I had the backstage guy come behind me like he was flying, right? With his arms out, and he's flying, this and that. And it got a nice laugh. And I said, if you could use some exotic booze. And he came out with a bottle of vodka like he was drunk. And then he went through the curtain again. And it was funny. It was getting laughs. And I was pretending like I didn't know he was there.
Right.
You know, so it made it more comedic. But
It's a show.
But but I carried the song. So the cruise director comes up. He goes, I loved it. I go, thanks. He goes, if you do it again on the Late Show, he goes, I don't want you to have the guy. He goes, because you can actually sing the song. So I was like, okay. So we were doing another cruise ship together, and I was like, hey, are you game to let me put a show on at 12:45 a.m. after the midnight show?
Yeah.
They had this bar underneath the disco, and it was called the Churchill's. It was a cigar bar.
That's cool.
All leather couches and a baby grand. So it was just me and a piano guy.
Yep.
And I went down there and did 50 minutes of Sinatra and Dean and Tony Bennett, and it got 150 people in the bar.
Nice.
And they had a nice liquor ring, and I was like, am I game to let me do this again? He goes, yeah. So it evolved into a Rat Pack-esque show.
Right.
There was a assistant cruise director. He was a friend of mine. He sang with me. One of the backstage managers, she could sing, but she wasn't an entertainer. She wanted to sing. She sang with me. And then two of the production singers, they sang. And then another guy who did his own show, he came and sang with me. And
Cool.
we did.
So it turned into this big show.
Big show.
Yeah, you didn't know it was going to be there and kind of hang
it just
out.
happened and evolved. And then I got
It's that
off
old
ships.
school vibe. You know, I love that.
Yeah. And I would wear tux, and the piano guy would wear tux. And everybody else just came in like they were coming from their show, like the Rat Pack used to do. That's how the Rat Pack was derived.
Yeah.
Sammy and Dean used to crash Frank's show.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they would come on and they would sing with him and joke around and laugh and have drinks and blah, blah, blah. And that's the way
hang
the show,
out.
And hang out. And that's the way the show.
It's a different time, man.
Well, that's when entertainment was entertainment.
That's true.
It's
It's a lot different now.
It's lost that vibe.
Yes.
And if it came back to that, I really think that you can change the mind of people that think, oh, this is entertainment. You know, I mean, I don't knock any of these shows that are the reality shows where, like, you see America's Got Talent and all this other stuff. But you know what? It's America's Got Talent, and yeah, there is a lot of talent. But I watched the auditions on that show, and 80% of the people were not from the United States.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they're not supposed to be in the United States, but they literally flew in from England to audition
Do this
for
on
America's
Got Talent. Yeah.
Okay, where there is one where it says, you know, England's Got Talent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There is that show.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem. I'll fly to England and audition for that.
Yeah.
Because I do well in English clubs. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I had a lot of following with English people.
Cool.
You know, so it's like, you know, I want the truth out there. You know what I'm saying? Like that when it comes to entertainment. I like real entertainment. I'm not giving you my sob story while I'm on stage.
Right.
I'm giving you
You're entertaining people.
entertaining, so I can take you away from
Everybody's
your
issues.
sob story.
Exactly.
Okay, and you know, when it comes to comedy, my friend Frank said it the best. He goes, you need to think about what you're going through. Okay, and when you're on stage, no one in that room knows what you're going through.
Right.
He goes, so what you're doing is you're making all of those people that are going through something not go through it for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So together, you've healed for 90 minutes.
Exactly.
And I'm like, okay. And when I took that, I was like, you know what? That's the way I'm going to live every time I go on stage. I want to take you away from anything that you possibly have when you walked in here. And that's amazing, man.
Leave it at the door.
Leave it at the door.
Sit down, relax, enjoy the show.
Because you can't have a negative thought and laugh at the same time. Unless you're laughing at something negative and then it's funny.
Right.
Okay.
But then you're doing your job.
Right. I'm taking you away from that point.
Yeah. And I think that's very important.
Now, I've seen you perform, and you're like, you live to perform. You know what I'm saying? People don't understand that at all, really.
Yeah.
But
Well, and it's tough. I mean, I think you've been through your ups and downs. I've been through my ups and downs lately. And, you know, especially with the hurricane and everything that's happened in this area. I mean,
Right.
it's been a little more difficult. Not for nothing.
Yeah, which is crazy because
Yeah.
people don't understand. Our calendars can be erased with a pandemic, with a storm.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the Northeast and for a long time, and
Yeah.
it's nothing to have a, you know, I'm driving to New York State. They can have a 30-inch snowstorm and,
Yeah.
you know, in 14 hours, and that gig's canceled for 2 days.
Right.
Okay, so
Yep.
as a comic, to get paid, you got to get there.
Exactly.
So if I knew there was a snowstorm coming, I left a day early. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I had to,
Right.
I put
and
myself
that's the job. You have to
in that
prepare.
town.
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
And my mom has said to me, she goes, you know, well, there's a storm, and I'm like, yeah, Mom, it don't matter.
Yeah.
It don't matter. I have to go. I do not have a choice, you know.
Right.
And now that I do everything on my own, like I only work a handful of clubs
Right.
now. Now everything is banquets and dinner shows and, you know, that kind of thing. So when I send a contract out, I'm the guy. It's
Right.
not like I'm going to put
Oh,
three
same
comics
here.
in there.
Yeah,
it's,
right.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm that guy.
Yeah.
So I got to go.
And you're the one dealing with it too.
I'm dealing
it's like
with
you're
it.
dealing with the people, you're making sure everything's the way it's
Right.
supposed to be, and
Yep.
and then you have to show up.
And you got to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's not like, you know, that I work with a booker and she's like, oh, this guy can't make it. What am I going to do? Well, I'm the guy. If I can't make it, what am I going to do? I have to either refund that money or I have to put someone in that's comparable to me.
Right.
Okay. And then if I have to pay more money for him to be there, you know what I'm saying? But
Yep.
it's just, you know, it's not always fun. It's show and then business.
Right.
The word business is really what.
Well, and that's where you're talking about the second you get on the stage is when you have to drop the business and be the entertainer.
Oh, yeah.
And that's, I mean, we have to remind ourselves of that sometimes.
How many times have you been in a room and the club owner is absolutely unbearable to deal with? And you have to walk on
I
stage.
plead the fifth, Your Honor.
Yeah, I know. And you have to walk on stage and detach from that, what you just, conversation you just had with that guy.
Yeah.
Or that.
Or the situation that's happening.
Right.
You know, there could be something happening while the show's going on, then you have to
Yeah.
disassociate yourself from that and
I'll
then
tell you a funny
worry
story.
about the show.
And you go, how did you do that? Okay, well, I just drove. I call it driving. Continue to drive.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's kind of like when a NASCAR race, there's a crash. Okay. And you remember the movie Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
Okay. And he had to trust that he was going through that tire smoke and he had to trust that all the cars were going to come down the track.
Yeah.
You have to trust that and go through it. Okay. So that's kind of what it is. So when something's going sideways in the room on stage that's out of your control, you have to continue to drive through it with your show. You cannot stop.
Yep.
So I'm on stage in Vegas. This is probably late 90s.
Okay.
And it's the same room that the Laugh Factory is in.
Okay. That
years
video.
ago, years ago, and that's at the Tropicana, the Laugh Factory, and that actually has been voted the #1 comedy club in Las Vegas for
That's
about
awesome.
8 or 9 years now.
Wow.
By the people, that's a people's vote, because it's acoustically really, really good, and
Nice.
it's a classical room. That room was where Rodney Dangerfield's Young Comedian specials were filmed.
Wow.
That was Rodney's place.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a lot of
It's the
nostalgia.
history. I love that.
Yeah, a lot of history in
Yeah.
that room. So I was working there, and it was back then it was called the Comedy Stop. And the owner's wife was managing the room. And I'm on stage. While I'm on stage, I could hear water. Okay. And I knew it was coming from my right. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I look over and I realize there's water pouring through one of the chandeliers on the left side of the room, okay, which was my right.
Yeah.
Stage right, left side of the room. So as the room's looking at me, it's over there, and
Yeah.
I could hear water just pouring in. And they grab 20 people off the table, and they slide the table, and they put this barrel there, and I just kept driving. Now, it was towards the end of my set, so I didn't want to bring the next act on while that was happening.
Right.
So I chose to use my middle spot time. That's the time you use between
Okay.
the next two acts.
Right.
There.
Yeah.
I
just
made the decision.
Take it yourself.
What they call an audible. I just went, did it, added the 5 minutes.
Not an edible, folks.
An edible. An edible is going to change the way you work.
Yeah.
So here we go. You might think you're funny. Okay. So
Yeah.
I just decided to just do the 5 more minutes, get that, and it was cleared up. And I looked over, and I didn't even say anything to anybody over there. I just went right on and got done.
Yeah.
And I brought the next act on. The next act didn't even know what happened because I never brought the attention to that.
Right.
And I get done, and the club manager walks over, and she like grabs me, and she hugs me, and she goes, "Thank God you were up there." She goes, "I don't know what would have happened." She goes, "Someone would have been." She goes, "You didn't draw any attention to that." And I go, "No."
Yeah.
I go, "Never." You know what I mean? And you don't do that because
The show must go on.
The show must go on, and
The ship's sinking? What?
What happened? The band kept playing.
Exactly.
My friend Nancy Ryan, very funny comic. She's out in Vegas. She's in a show called Ex Burlesque at the Flamingo. And she had a great joke when the movie Titanic was really, really popular.
Yeah.
She goes, "I watch that movie and I watch it over and over and over just to watch the band continue to play." And it just goes to show you, when a musician gets a gig, a musician's never given up that gig. Because the ship is going down, and they
The
kept
band
playing.
plays on.
They played on, yeah.
Yes. Well, talking about Vegas, and we're running long here. That's okay. I love this conversation, man. This is great. When did you first get into Vegas? What was your first experience?
1991.
Cool.
I was in Vegas, and that was at the Comedy Stop that was in that room.
Okay.
And I worked there, and it's funny because Vegas is different than any place you'll work.
I can imagine.
It is. It's just a different vibe. There's every possible state is in that room.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's Midwest, there's North Pacific Northwest, there's Southwest, there's everybody is in that room at the same time.
Yeah.
So there has to be a middle ground of entertainment
For
that hits
everybody.
every head.
Yeah.
Like that. So, but it took me about 2 or 3 shows to really grasp
Dial that in.
to dial it in, because I was doing my Northeast character, which it will work, but it's going to be a Northeast character.
And you're going to hear those laughs from those people.
Yeah, they got it. They got it, And then there's also transition nights. There's people when they come into Vegas, they travel from wherever they're traveling from. They get there, they're tired.
Right.
Okay.
Make
Then
me
there's
laugh, funny boy.
Yeah. and they might be having a good time, but they're quiet.
Right.
Okay.
Because they're just wiped out.
They're just wiped out. And then after the show, they'll come up, "Oh, that was great, thanks." I'm like, "Where were you?" Like that. So, but then there's also the transition night where people are leaving. So their last night there is like they're all in.
All rah-rah,
They're
yeah.
all rah-rah, and then that flips over again. And there's a couple different nights. Like I find that Sunday Night Late Show can be really, really good, but it can be a light crowd. Okay. And then you have your Tuesdays, for some reason, it's a transition night. People go Friday to Tuesday and they fly home.
Right.
Thursday and Fridays are usually great nights. Friday Night Late Show, a little tired. People drove in from L.A.
Yeah.
You got a little big influx over the West
For
Coast.
the weekend.
For the weekend, right. And then you also have different things that are going on there. So people are like, "Oh, the fight's on Saturday. We'll go to the comedy club tonight," and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I've been there for a lot of different stuff.
That's
and
cool. Yeah.
Over the course of 33 years, I've been in Vegas a lot.
Yeah. That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah, I love Vegas. Vegas is probably my favorite town to work.
Yeah.
So I might be making a move there, but I can't say that out loud yet.
Right.
But,
hey, Florida's still the best place to be.
I love working Florida. People don't understand that, but Florida is kind of a soggy Vegas. Let's put it that way. You know what I'm saying? It's
Well, that's the desert. This is the
yeah.
the swamp.
Yep. Well, it was nice being here with you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, and we'll have to do it again soon because I think we just scratched the surface, really.
I think so. Yeah.
We always talk about.
I wasn't very funny. I don't know how.
No, it's fine. This is great, and I think honestly, I've interviewed a lot of people when the show was in the audio only version, and just recently I had Derek Richards on, and I think a lot of it. People need motivation now more than ever.
Right.
So I think it's important to talk to people, you know, and you're my friend, and I have a lot of friends, and we can dive into a deeper conversation more than just in the passing.
And I want these people to know that you're going to be working with me to put together that Sinatra show.
It's a thought. It's an idea.
No,
it's an idea.
It's not a thought.
It's a fun idea.
It's going to happen. Okay? You're going to do this because it needs to happen.
Right.
Now, you can be the catalyst and you can make it happen.
Right.
And then if you want to stay and do that, you can. Or if you can transition someone with talent into that.
With talent.
Okay? Because, I mean, that's what I look for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I want people that have personality and talent. You have
what it's
both.
all about. Thank you.
Okay? So that's what needs to happen.
I appreciate it.
You know, because Eric wants me to do the show there. I want to do the show there. And I know that you have... you know, a finger on the pulse of entertainers that could do it with us.
Yep.
You know, so.
Oh yeah.
It'd be fun just to do it with a, you know, with a guitar and me and you.
Right.
You know
It would
what I'm
be.
saying? Like.
Yep.
Because I'm sure you could do that old, you know, what's that guitar? That's is it a Les Paul?
It's like a Gretsch, the big Gretsch.
Yeah, the big Gretsch. That's what it means.
Oh, I have one.
I know you do.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do somewhere next to the caddy.
Oh
or something
yeah,
else.
somewhere in here.
Sure
I'm in
here.
Tahiti. What are you talking
you're
about?
Tahiti-ish.
Yeah.
Charlotte. You're in Tahiti, Charlotte.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, folks, thank you for watching. Frank, thank you for being here.
Thanks for
Where
having me.
can people find you?
You can find me at frankdelpizzo.com. That is my website.
Excellent.
And if you cannot remember that, fdpcomedy.com.
Even better. All right. And
FDPcomedy.
those links will be in the description of this video as well. Folks, thank you for watching. We greatly appreciate it. We'll do my little outro music here.
Outro.
This has been the Imbasciani Chronicles. Don't forget, like this video. Share this video with your friends. You know, if you need a little motivation too, it's important. And, you know, Frank, he's still doing the coaching. Reach out to him. He'll help you out as well. On Instagram, on Facebook, posting all your videos. Love it. And subscribe to the channel right here. Share with your friends. Yeah, on YouTube. Perfect. So, folks, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.